My mom
Why'd you,
lived there.
oh, I didn't
So
know
I
that.
left
I thought
Philly.
you
I
were
moved.
complete gutter white trash from Philly.
I was, and then I moved to Minnesota in high school.
So that's where you learned how to be a regular person.
Yeah, that's why I don't talk like a piece of shit, and that's why I don't, immediately want my quarterback run over by a truck full of beer when he throws one bad pass.
That's why you're just unfortunately an Eagles fan.
And I'm not, yeah, and I'm not a 40-year-old with two kids who still wants to pick fights with teenagers at sporting events. Yeah, I went to Minnesota, became a little bit civilized. Um, but no, Nick Swardson was one of the first people I met when I went. We should have Nick on. He's a huge football fan. He was one of the first people I met when I went to the Improv in L.A. And I was at the bar, and Eddie, the bartender at the Improv bar, was like, "Oh, Minnesota," and he's like, "He's from Minnesota," and I didn't even realize it was Nick Swardson sitting like two people down from me, and Nick was like, "Minnesota," and literally ran over, just started talking to me, and and then like I every time I'd seen him since then, bumped into him, like he's very friendly, very nice. Um, but yeah, my buddy Corey was his opener on the road for like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And obviously there's no road work right now. Nobody's touring really, so um, yeah, that's a completely random thing. I
My
was talking about somebody
a
we know.
great same scenario. Eddie improv. Do you remember the improv bar before they changed it and how you'd walk in and it was right there before you went and that's where
Yeah,
everybody could
yeah,
hang out?
that's where everybody hung out.
So it was New Year's and it was like 5 days after New Year's. So it's probably January 6th or 7th ish. And it's me and Gene Pompa
Yeah,
and Swartzen, and we're all at the bar.
because
And
people like to say
no,
pompa.
and yeah, yeah. And Swartzen got the idea in his head that he's just gonna keep counting down to the new year.
Okay.
Like he's just gonna keep right. And at first, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were just saying "Happy New Year," and then people would have drinks and shit. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then Swartzen would start like people would be talking again, and it'd be like a lull, and then
And
he'd
then he
just
would
go
just scream out.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, right all the way, and Happy New Year. I was like, "Oh, okay," and we just did it. 30 seconds later, he starts counting down 5, 4, 3, for like an hour and a half. Him and
Yep.
Gene did this.
This sounds about right.
Literally, literally after and like a couple of times, the first couple of times you're like, haha, that's funny. Then it's like the sixth time in a row. And you would think they're like, all right, guys, we get it. We get the joke. It gets funnier.
That's a big.
It gets funnier, dude. Because he's just like after a while, they just like would hit a shooter, you like put the shot down and then just started counting again. That's my
It's weird, man. There's
random
there's
sports
so
and improv story.
there's there are so many things that have sort of like died as part of the LA stand-up culture, or even just the LA culture as a result of everything that's happened this year. Um, so many comics left and are now in Texas. Like, Red Band, who was my neighbor across the street, like just moved to Austin. Rogan moved to Austin. I think Tony Hinchcliffe moved to Austin. So that whole contingent is
Oh,
now out
Tony
of
Hitchcock moved
Texas.
too?
I think so, yeah. And
Rogan
I,
took
I
his
think
whole crew.
took the whole fucking crew. I think Santino's the only one left in LA, but um, and then anybody who, like, all the clubs have closed down. Who knows what rooms are going to reopen or which ones aren't? And then the crazy thing is, like, so like through all this, or right before all this kind of started, Swartzen got sober. And even if you're not a comic, if you're anybody who ever went out in West Hollywood over the last 12 years, Nick. You've seen him hammered somewhere. You've been at like his
Especially
hangouts,
in West Hollywood.
Barney's Beanery on the west side. Like, there was such a time where I couldn't go out in West Hollywood in the years of like 2009 to 2013
He's
without
probably
bumping
still fun
into.
though. He's
Oh
probably
yeah,
still fun.
without bumping into Nick Swardson and Chris Reed, who was Kid from Kid and Play. They're good buddies. And I would run into those two guys and my buddy Deepak Sethi, who's a comedian and was a writer on Family Guy and Brickleberry, and is friends with those guys too. So literally, like, I would leave those guys at
Name
the
drop.
Improv. I would literally leave the nobody that's obviously the names that I drop are helping me in my illustrious career. I would like leave the improv and see those guys there, go do a set at the Comedy Store, then go to Barney's Beanery, and then they would also be there. I was like, do you guys all have clones? Because you're just at every place that I'll ever go to. And LA is a weird thing like that. It's like a small town in the sense that you'll keep running into the same handful of people.
Same bitches, the same everybody.
And apparently, you know, we're talking about comedy stuff because we're both stand-ups, or we were back before the Great War. And and we were talking about John Mulaney getting sober today. And you were like, should we talk about it? And I was like, well, yeah, we can bring it up. But it is kind of weird to be like, I can't envision that guy having a serious
of all
problem.
people. Of all people, like there could be ones that would be shocking to, like, you know, the civilians and fans and stuff. But like amongst comics, it was kind of a shocker because I'd be like, really?
Yeah.
Like I seen it, like really, like if Sebastian would have went away or so, or like, and like, oh, I'm going to like, oh yeah, I can see that. Or you know, like Craig checked like in somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, like we know
idea.
For the most part, like we don't like go, hey, so and so does blow or anything. We just know whose vices are what from hanging around comics, like who does what and stuff. So Mulaney doing blow and saying, I feel like it was more of an alcohol thing, but then said cocaine as kind of like. I also got suspended. I also got suspended for this though, guys. You know.
Yeah. He's like, I was drinking too much to the point where people started presenting cocaine, and I figured that's clearly an addiction.
Well, I was doing cocaine, and
So I had so many in the drafts about like jokes about it. I even posted one that I deleted. I was like, there's a million of these hack comments about what about Gil Faizan? Is he going too? I mean, I was like, there's so many. Just let the man go to his rehab in peace. Meanwhile, there are, by the way, checking yourself into rehab in the world of comedy and entertainment is strictly a white man move. Only white men check themselves into rehab. Remember when Demi Lovato shit hit the fan? They had to, like, 6 of her friends had to take her to rehab. They don't ever go willingly. They're like, I'm fine. I'll just look at the crystals and I'll wring my hands and I'll be fine. I'll be free of it.
And that's even crazy because Demi Lovato was like, that was her relapse.
Yes, that was.
Yeah, I mean, like she was like a
relapse.
She was like a heroin addict and then got famous, and then like had a relapse and still didn't want to go to rehab. Was still like,
yeah. Which, by the way, do you know what the through line is with all these crazy bitches in LA who have these huge careers and just get completely fucked up? It's Wilder Valderrama's penis. I don't know what that guy is. Yes.
They'll all be banging Fez?
Yes.
Them bitches don't fuck Fez.
Dude, look it up. Wilmer Valderrama.
Is this something we can Google? You can't Google.
I can't even say his name. Wilmer Valderrama.
There's too many V's and W's in his name.
Yeah, dude. Lindsay Lohan, he dropped a pipe on her. Demi Lovato dropped a pipe on. He's wrecked so many lives, and nobody's me tooing this guy.
Is it his penis, or does he have like really good dope?
I don't. Yeah, it could be that too. I mean, look at the back.
Like, have you ever had this? It's pure.
Dude, what if he's the nucleus of all of the fuckery and catastrophe around that era of Hollywood? Like, that's the reason Danny Masterson might have raped a couple girls and went to prison. Like,
because Fez is
what
like
if
the
it
fucking...
all goes back to Fez and he's just like this Hollywood kingpin?
Well, I just want, like, so being on the athlete side of it where they drug test you all the time and everybody's drug tested and they're like, especially in football, and you know the NFL or will let you know when you're getting tried. There's not a single drug test for an actor or for unless there's a thing that says, hey, we're going to do this, and none of the people on set can be like, unless there was something in a clause that told them, never, and none of them would ever sign it either.
I mean, here's a real funny story about that. No, go ahead.
Well, because I was going to say, like, this all coincides, like, the NFL is still going ahead strong with their drug testing policy, but the NBA was like, we're not testing for weed, just so you guys
Yeah,
know.
that's
Because
over.
the bubble was a good product. We let them have weed, and they let them have weed in the bubble so they wouldn't
Yeah,
leave.
I'm
Dude,
sure.
some of the best basketball I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like it was amazing. I was like, dude, these guys have no whores. They have to focus. All they have is weed and video
And
games
ball.
and
Yeah.
practice, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's either
And
going to
it's like-
turn into a prison sex scene in Oz, or somebody's going to win championship.
I was like, only the teams that really play basketball are going to be in the playoffs, and that's what it was, and that's why the Heat ended up playing against the Lakers in the final. LeBron was going to do it. Nobody is like programmed like him, so he's going to be like in the gym. The Lakers are going to do his regimen. They're like, oh shit, this is how you get to the championship. Like they just looked at whatever LeBron did every single day, and then the Heat just did what they do. Everybody was hurt. Everybody was on, and then the COVID shit happened, and the season stopped, and then the Heat just got to rest and be healthy, and they were like, all right, we'll pick it up when everybody's healthy, all our starters. That's fine. We'll see you in the finals. And it's like, so the rookies, like Tyler Hero and Nunn and all those guys, they were our bench at the time. And all I'm saying is, imagine the NFL with no drug tests.
Oh God. I mean, first of all, just imagine
because I'll tell you this: when I went to
the longevity players would have if they were able to just smoke weed to help with the pain of week to week without having to turn to opiates.
I mean, anything, bro. Did I ever tell you about my first CFLPA meeting, the first Players Association meeting I had when I went to Montreal?
That sounds like a ridiculous thing entirely.
All right. So the first ever Players
We're not the
meeting
NFL, okay? And
that I went
you guys
to.
are going to play some football, okay? And if you go with that, we don't want to push it on you. We're going to pay you guys a little bit more than a 7-Eleven manager, okay? And
well, because I had...
Was it like this?
No. Well, I mean, the other guy, hey, we're going to ask coaches to leave.
I just picture everyone in Canada is Matt Stone's character from Orgasmo. I don't want to sound like a queer or nothing, but pretty good play out there, dude.
Those are like the Canadians that are either around the team or out that you'll meet or something. Or there was a couple of tight ends that were from Canada that talked like that. It's like, I won't sound like a queer or nothing, but pretty good burger, eh?
Yeah, pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So the first ever players meeting that I had, like, they're like, all right, we want the coaches to leave. They wait for the coaches to leave, and then they talk about it. They had a rep from the league come down, and our representative from the team, he was like a 15-year fucking O lineman or something. He was a captain, and he was like, all right, we're gonna have our first meeting. And they talked about the drug policy, right? And I was like, damn, this shit is about to get crazy here. So, like, I don't even know what's up in Canada. Like, I didn't buy weed when I went up there originally because I was like, I don't even know this shit.
You just chop
but it helps in camp. It helps
the trees up there,
weed.
Right? Yeah.
So the first thing these motherfuckers said blew me away. They said, okay, so there was a lot of things that happened last year that we're not going to do this year, and there was a lot of confusion. Like, some people were asking, well, how come cocaine is on the banned substance list, but things like Molly and ecstasy weren't? So we went ahead and took cocaine off the banned list. That was the first sentence I ever heard at my first ever players meeting.
You were literally like, shit's about to get real.
I was like, yo. Before I could even blink, though, like before I could even muster a response in my own head to be quick, this fucking D lineman shouted out, finally. It was amazing.
Dude, that's a great segue.
That was the best players meeting I ever went in.
That's a great segue because since we're on the topic, was there anybody that was more a poster boy for coked out, long-haired 80s football than mean Kevin Green? I mean,
wow,
R.I.P. Can we talk about him?
He even coached Clay Matthews and them on the Packers, right?
Yeah, when they won the Super Bowl in 2013.
And he had everybody on that team being a long hair linebacker. Like, even the black dudes were like growing their hair out and dyeing it and shit. Yeah. Like that, right? It was AJ Hawk, Clay Matthews.
Yep.
Then right after Clay, they got the other dude What the fuck is his name? My brother's a Packers fan. It's gonna kill me. Fuck it. I don't even care. You know, they always had ball and white boys, you know, and he was third. Do you know he was third all time on the sacks list?
Who, Clay Matthews? Or Kevin Green.
Kevin Green.
Yeah, career sack list. He's third of all time.
Yeah, he has 160 sacks.
That's insane to me.
You know who's on their way to that shit, dude? If they keep it up, is fucking Myles Garrett's trajectory is like that, dude. That guy is.
Well, Myles Garrett is a man amongst boys. I mean, you know, it was funny because when the thing that most people know Myles Garrett for is Helmet Gate, right? Where he just took his helmet off and swung it at Mason Rudolph for supposedly saying the N-word to him. And I'm pretty sure Mason Rudolph is at least 42% black.
However, how do you redeem yourself in a situation like that when the media, half of the media is against you, the other half is like, well, he might have a point.
Well, my argument was like, if you think
how do you redeem yourself is ball out though, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I was like, if you think that's abusive, you should see what he's been doing to quarterbacks since he entered the league, and more importantly, see what he's been doing to offensive linemen. Every offensive lineman that plays against Myles Garrett looks bad. I mean, he's made Pro Bowlers look bad. I mean, it's a shock in some of these games this year. You texted me when the Eagles were playing the Browns, and you were like, I've never seen a right tackle get molested this bad. And that's the worst.
I even told you, I said, what is your right tackle doing? That's the worst set I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, those were the worst. That whole game was the worst sets I've ever seen.
It was like he had just given up. It was like he was just like, look, man, you don't even need to put moves.
But that's who was that? Was filling in for Lane Johnson, right?
I think it was Matt Pryor.
So who is your starters now going forward with Jalen in there? You've replaced your line like 3 times, right?
14 actually. They've had 4 going into the game on Sunday. They had 13 different offensive linemen combinations since the start of the year. And now another dude went on IR. So they're about to go into their 14th different combination.
Is it only because of money that they moved Jason Peters from tackle to guard?
No. Well, you mean from guard to tackle? So they originally didn't re-sign Jason Peters. The only reason they re-signed Jason Peters was to fill.
No, he was at left tackle for years, and then they moved him to guard.
No, he was at left tackle for years, and then they did not re-sign him this year because the fucker can't set. He can't swing. He doesn't have the feet anymore. And so
they moved him inside.
No, they didn't move him inside. They didn't re-sign him at all. Oh. And then Brandon Brooks, their all-pro right guard, went down, who's built like the Incredible Hulk. How you 335 with not an ounce of fat on your body? That's Brandon Brooks. He got injured, like ruptured his Achilles or something. Then they
had some fat on it. It gave him some cushion.
Yeah. Then they re-signed Jason Peters with the idea they were going to play him at right guard. And then Andre Dillard, the guy they drafted in the first round last year, was going to be their left tackle, went down with an injury. And then they were like, we'll give Peters a raise and move him back to left tackle. The reason you didn't re-sign him is because he can't fucking play left tackle. Like, your quarterback doesn't go down, and you go, let's see if Joe Montana still has it. Like, just because a guy used to be great doesn't mean he's still going to come in and play great.
So you picked him up late in the season?
They picked him up almost all the way at the end of the offseason, like damn near right up until training camp.
But that's what I mean. But then he was at guard.
He was at guard through training camp, and then when Dillard got hurt in camp, they moved him back to left tackle. Where
you're left. Play. So his replacement got hurt in camp?
Yes. And his left tackle replacement got hurt in camp.
And season ending?
Yes. Yeah. He tore a bicep or something.
Jesus Christ. Like, all right. So on top of that, you have a draft, right? On top of you not solidifying the left tackle, that was like, oh, because that dude's not even amazing. He's not like amazing. What pick did they get him?
He couldn't get on the field last year as a rookie. He only got in and played when Peters was injured, and he didn't play that well. And
but was talk when his draft class was what, 2018?
Yeah, 19.
So, what pick was he?
14th or something, maybe 15th. Pretty high.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But and he hasn't. It's like, so they're stuck with that. So in that draft, right, last year in the 2020 draft, they draft Jalen Hurts right after the long-term deal. Right after the long-term deal.
With Carson Wentz.
Right. So Carson doesn't know what to think, right? So if he already has been sacked the second most times behind Deshaun Watson, right? He's already been fucking knee surgery. Goddamn, his ribs are fucked up. Everything happens to him. And then on top of that,
he was 22nd. I was incorrect. Andre Dillard was the 22nd pick.
So
one right in front of Titus Howard, by the way, which we
and they go, his confidence isn't good. And it's not like they drafted anybody, right? It's not like Aaron Rodgers' confidence dropped when they drafted that fucking kid from wherever the fuck he's from, Utah State.
Yeah. Jordan Love.
Yeah. Because Aaron Rodgers like, yeah, whatever. Ain't no sweat off my shit. They drafted Jalen Hurts, and you're like, that guy's supposed to be a starter somewhere. Like Carson Wentz was probably like a fan of that kid. Like, why? Didn't I just get a deal? So you already fucked up his head, and I'm like, players psychology.
What you and I talked about is that Jalen Hurts is a first round talent at the very least.
But we said this before in the previous episode. I just wanted to say, I feel like the universe is listening to us, and we put this out there that
I said
Carson Wentz was going to have to make a move.
Yes,
that Carson Wentz is going to have to say,
I'm not playing here.
And I didn't take him for a dude but guess what? If he is the first, or if not the first, if he's the starter and leader that we say that he is, that we really believe that he is, that's why he did that. He actually showed some assertiveness and said,
"Deuces up,
trade me."
Yeah, fucking trade me.
Because you know what? I don't know if you watched the Jets lowly win yesterday, but Sam Darnold still sucks. So they can easily. I'll take Carson Wentz any day. If now winning a game means we don't get Trevor Lawrence,
100%.
I will take Carson Wentz tonight if they're like, sorry, you guys aren't going to get Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be Atlanta or Jacksonville.
And here's a cushy situation that nobody's talked about him landing in, right? Who has a quarterback on the verge of retirement? Nobody has brought this possible landing spot up. Who has a quarterback who yesterday looked pretty fucking beat and is probably done, and is not going forward? And they have a guy who's a sort of a slash player, and they have a former first-round pick on a one-year deal as a backup. So other than Taysom Hill, the Saints have no quarterbacks next year. What if they let all three of those motherfuckers walk and trade for Carson Wentz? And you have a Super Bowl roster that's a quarterback away from being 15-1 every season.
Tell you what, man, I got one better for you, man.
Oh, here he comes.
I got one better for you, man. Because I was a fan of Peterman. Okay, man? Knock on wood if you're with me. I could take any quarterback there is. You give me Carson Wentz, man. Derek Carr has played his last game as a Raider, man. He's done. Only cost us $7 million to clear the cap.
Yeah.
If we get rid of Derek Carr. That's nothing, man. You're paying Tannehill $40 million.
Listen, I think you're going to see – there's
going to be some moves.
There's going to be a lot of moves at quarterback this year. And the other thing that's exciting about this is you and I talked about – everyone's talking about how unhappy Carson Wentz is in Philadelphia. The guy that nobody's talking about who's going to also tell his team to go fuck themselves this offseason is Dak Prescott. And all the fucking Eagles and Cowboy fans that have been bitching about which quarterback is better between the two of them, ain't neither of them going to be there. They're both
Isn't it crazy? Hold on, time out.
Magic Johnson thing where I'm not going to be here. They're neither of them going to be there.
How did it go from that division now has one quarterback?
Yeah, that's it.
That division has one quarterback now.
And it's Jalen Hurts.
Are you kidding me?
That's it.
Who the fuck? All right, so Dak Prescott.
He's probably going to go somewhere like Jacksonville and cash in.
When that fool slammed his fucking leg in the ground to try and fix it or whatever the fuck he was going to do, I was like, dude, I'll block for that dude any day. He could be my
Yeah.
quarterback any day. And that's why I was like, what is an opening spot? And that's why I bring up Gruden a lot. He'll take either of those two guys. If you give Gruden a Dak Prescott or you give Gruden Carson Wentz, I think that's the missing piece that takes it. Because if you look at the team he's running, he likes Josh Jacobs. He never drafted Derek Carr.
Yeah.
He never got to sign his free agent. They only got rid of Khalil Mack and signed a coach. Like he had, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
There was no, they made moves this past year though, drafts, and you were like, wow, look at their front office.
And I don't think Carr is a bad quarterback, but Carr will go somewhere like Dallas and be fine. You know,
let him swap. Let Dak Prescott go there and Derek Carr go to Dallas and see what's happening.
Yeah.
See what's happening.
Yeah. What I think would be the most gangster thing in the world is if the Raiders signed Dak Prescott and then made the Dallas Cowboys give them something else for Derek Carr.
Well, I'm curious to see what happens with Washington, because if Washington's in a position where they haven't lost enough games to be in a position in the draft where they could draft what they actually need. So they're just going to get like another awesome pass rusher or cool receiver or something, you know, like,
yeah,
because they might fuck around and like win that division.
That could be it. Yeah, but that could be a team. That could be a team that slides in for Wentz or Dak or Derek Carr or any of these quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying. I'm curious to see what Washington does, because if Washington knows that they're not going to go in a draft and find a quarterback, they know that they're not going to do that. So they'd be in a draft position to sign one of these high-end free agents at quarterback.
And if you think about this,
and
from a business perspective,
going in the division is not unheard of, because we've seen Brett Favre do it. We've seen the in the division guys go and be fine, or it's not that crazy. I mean, Brett Favre went to the fucking goddamn NFC Championship in Minnesota and had to beat the Packers and shit. That shit is aggressive. If Dak Prescott went to Washington with that defense and just started slapping the Cowboys, oh my God, I would be a fan.
He would absolutely start beating the shit out of the Cowboys.
Like that fucking defense is nasty.
How funny is it going to be when the Dallas Cowboys have three of the best receivers in the NFL and nobody?
That is amazing. You gotta love it. You love to see that.
That's such a Jerry Jones predicament to end up in. Is like, I got the best skill position play down. I just need somebody to launch the ball. Could we put a machine back there, shoot the, like, you know how they do the, what do they call that, with the two wheels that spin and fire the balls? Can we?
The jugging machine.
Yeah, can it the jugs? Can I just set a jugs up back there and, you know,
jugga.
Listen,
That's why they call it that, man.
Listen, Zeke, if you won't carry the ball, you're going to have to intercept it from the jugs, okay? Because we firing them jugs straight up in CD or Gallup or, you know,
dude, they literally have no quarter. I like Andy Dalton is trash. So
no, he's absolutely.
No matter how much they market him, like, oh, the red rifle, like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. Nobody cares.
Yeah, there was a really good article I read today. I should try to find it and pull it up. That said Carson Wentz's career is eerily echoing that of Carson Palmer's career, where he was like this really promising quarterback, stepped in, took his team very far early in his career, had this devastating injury. Everybody remembers that playoff game where Carson Palmer got fucking shredded on a dirty fucking hit.
I hate seeing knees get hit like that.
And that pretty much stunted his career until he ended up with Bruce Arians. And that's another situation where the quarterback could change. If Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl somehow out of Tampa this year, you don't think that dude's just going to be done? And then does Bruce Arians,
Is he though?
Fix so many quarterbacks, comes in and goes, I'll take Carson Wentz. I'll take another red-headed Carson.
Here's the thing that we're have to take into account. None of these quarterback moves happen until the Trevor Lawrence saga is settled.
Well, that's going to be settled. I mean, and Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent, but the reason I was about to say,
he might pull an Eli.
But the reason
he might pull an Eli.
I don't know, but the reason Carson Wentz pulled the move he did at the end of the season and not in the offseason is because he wants teams to know ain't no quarterback behind Trevor Lawrence. Sure, Justin Fields. You want Dwayne Haskins 2.0? Draft him.
That was
The kid
smart. He let it
the
be
kid who
known.
took my he knows Carson Wentz knows that behind Trevor Lawrence, he's the best option these teams have at quarterback going into next season. So tell them you're on the market. And that's what he did. He came out and said, "Guess what? I'm on the market now. So fuck you, Philadelphia," and good for him.
And none of, like I'm saying, like once the Trevor Lawrence thing, and like if it's Jacksonville, if it's Atlanta, if Dallas, moves up enough because Jerry Jones just wants to flex to be like, this is my guy. This is why we didn't pay Dak. I told you why. And it was like, boom, on some superstar shit.
Which,
Carson
by the way,
is
literally Trevor Lawrence putting on the star is like fucking Darth Vader. Is like
I'm gonna take the other route. How much of
movie.
these teams? Why has the narrative been pushed? And maybe I'll just, for argument's sake, I'll just say I'll side with them of saying Carson. Maybe a lot of teams don't want him. Maybe he is too fragile. Maybe he isn't gonna play a full season. Maybe he's not worth $29.5 million right away and $36 million the next year. Like, who takes the risk? Because it is a risk. And who just wants nothing to do with it and still like rolls the dice of, I don't care, have a quarterback. Like we'll go with Drew Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins? Who's Drew
whatever.
Haskins?
I don't know. He sounded like the same dude.
Dwayne Haskins and Drew Henson.
Listen, it could be Drew
Remember
Carey
when Drew
out there.
Henson
I don't
was
give a
going to be
damn.
the quarterback of the Cowboys? Remember when the Cowboys went like a decade without really
having a
quarterback? Yeah.
I'm a Jet fan. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
We had one.
The last one you had was Chad Pennington, and he was sort of kind of okay. As a guy who could hand it off for 35 times a game, he was great. And get you a couple third downs a season. Yeah, he was solid.
And then he went to the Dolphins and beat the shit out of the Jets.
Yeah, he was great in Miami. He was one of those guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick who had this middling career and then like in the twilight of his career is just fucking lighting it up. People forget Ryan Fitzpatrick had this epic season with Chan Gailey as an offensive coordinator in Buffalo where they won something like 10 games with Ryan Fitzpatrick and then for whatever reason completely moved away from that entirely. But yeah, the thing is I joke about the putting on the Darth Vader helmet moment of Carson Wentz joining the Cowboys, but I think the more Darth Vader moment that I can't wait to see is the day you see him sit behind that table with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, and he puts that fucking red caged fucking the worst thing that could happen to a Philadelphia Eagles fan base is that Carson Wentz goes to New England and becomes the next Tom Brady. And I'm fucking here for it. I'm here for it. I would love nothing more than navy and red Carson Wentz jerseys just all over the Eagles stadium while Jalen Hurts becomes the next Randall Cunningham. And I don't say that as any knock against Jalen Hurts, but they're eerily similar to the Buddy Ryan Eagles. They're going to have no line around him. They're going to have a great fucking defense. And that guy's going to be running for his life for the next 10 years in the NFL. He's going to win a couple of wild card games and he's going to be fucked. Because unless Jeffrey Lurie gets rid of Howie Roseman or sells the team, that problem ain't getting fixed.
Oh, wait. You know how that league works? Howie Roseman made one decision. Draft Jalen Hurts in the second round. He replaced Carson Wentz.
Right.
He saved his job.
Of course he did.
That's
why he's
not getting
Doug
rid of him. I told you they're not getting rid of him. And you're like, they need to fire him tomorrow. I was like,
listen,
no, your team is not getting rid of him.
He's not getting rid of him. Do you know what's really funny? We should have my dad on here because he'll tell you that the reason that Jeffrey Lurie will never get rid of Howie Roseman is because they're both Jews and they don't turn on each other. And as two of the only Jews in football, they'll be together till the end. And you know what?
No, Kraft's a Jew.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
And Belichick's Armenian.
Like, my favorite part about having a father of a certain age is that sometimes in the string of racist remarks, they nail it. They nail it. And Jeffrey Lurie, you know, with his little Anne Frank
looking
over
out for
Howie
his buddy.
Roseman, he's never going to turn on him. It's just, you know,
Ugh,
every
you guys,
single time the Eagles continue to pass on a black guy with dreadlocks and gold teeth, just say to yourself, Shabbat Shalom. And move on and understand that your team's never going to be good, Philadelphia. You had the opportunity to build a dynasty and you literally cut your own dick off. They are the Oedipus Rex of the NFL. I don't want to fuck my mother and kill my father, so I'm going to go do all the things that lead to me killing my father and fucking my mother. Like, that's exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles are in the NFL.
if the Eagles win the division,
Not likely.
Howie Roseman gets a raise.
I'm sure Howie Roseman's going nowhere. If anything, they might make him the fucking coach. They might make him the coach. If Jalen Hurts, he might be like, you know, I've got some plays I've drawn up and I've run on Madden, and I got to tell you, I think I could do it. And Jeffrey would be like, you know what?
You think Jalen Hurts is good in any era?
I think Jalen Hurts is an amazing quarterback. I think he unfortunately got drafted by a franchise that is doomed to fail him the same way they failed Carson Wentz, the same way they failed Nick Foles, the same way they failed Sam Bradford. How do you fucking trade Nick Foles in the Chip Kelly era for Sam Bradford when Nick Foles fucking tied the record for most touchdowns in a single game? Like,
that's why when he came back, he won the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Like, Nick Foles got fucked the first time with Philadelphia. That's why when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, I was like, Nick Foles should tell them to go fuck themselves. You traded him the first time and almost ended his career. Comes back, wins a Super Bowl. Now he's got to go on the bench and does it.
They did that too. Like, everything Andy Reid was doing, he was finally getting dudes. He had guys getting hurt all the time. He had Mike Vick in his highest passer rating in his career. He was the highest completion rating in his career. He was out here slinging the pill. What did they do? They're like, let's get rid of Andy Reid. It's been long enough.
Yeah, we've only been to 4 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl, and
goes to Kansas City. Goes, let me get 3 years to build. They said, okay. He's won 5 division titles in a row.
They're gonna walk into the Super Bowl this year.
He's been there 8 seasons.
I mean, unless Patrick Mahomes implodes.
He literally was like, give me 3 years to build. They're like, okay. They're like, please.
And there's an interesting...
He did that. They run the division 5 seasons in a row. 5 seasons in a row. They won the division, and he's only been there 8 years. It's literally what he said he was going to do. Give me 3 years. This is 8th season with the team.
He's going to walk into another bowl this year, and again, I think if it ends up being Tampa or Green Bay or New Orleans against that Chiefs team's going to win again. So
T.O.
Yeah, well,
not just quarterbacks.
I mean, that's a great example. Is that, I don't know exactly who was behind the T.O. shit, but I feel like Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie were the fly in the ointment with the T.O. shit because look at what Andy Reid was able to do with so many sort of diva type players in his tenure with the Eagles. None of those guys really acted out. Like they took a lot of guys that potentially had off the field. Look what they did with Michael Vick. They resurrected his whole career as a reformed man and as a great talent. And you couldn't rein in T.O. Something tells me that was more on Howie in the front office, and at the time it was Joe Banner.
And it might go back to the thing. Now, he's not dreadlocked with gold teeth, but he definitely had an outgoing personality.
He had swagger. They're terrified of swagger.
They're terrified of swag. They don't get it. They think.
Yeah, you know why?
When the league was pushing back.
That's why they don't get it. They don't get it. They'll wear the tracksuits and the gold chains, and they'll listen to Beastie Boys, and they'll never understand that they don't get Tribe Called Quest. It's very simple. It's the problem.
I just don't understand why that a team.
Yeah, what are you talking about? We love the black guys. Look at us. We got the chains and the hip hop. We got it all. Yeah.
Anyways, you have a meeting on Monday, and your little friend is cut.
Yeah. So you had to, and by the way, great segue. We've talked about the fact that Philadelphia Eagles have not been able to produce a star Hall of Fame wide receiver. And now there's been debate over what that actually is, because apparently you can't even go by, this is where we're wrong. Okay. because you can't even go by statistics. Statistics racist, homie. Straight racist.
Can you pull up?
I'm gonna pull it up.
So
I've
the
got
other
it pulled
day, Randy Moss was on a podcast with T.O. and what was the show that they were on? Even
I'm not sure. It was some. I think it was like an ESPN thing.
it was an ESPN podcast, wasn't there, or something like that? Anyway, they asked Randy if Jerry.
Is it called Get Your Popcorn Ready, or is that? Oh, it is. It's Get Your Popcorn Ready podcast. It's
It's T.O.'s podcast on there. They asked Randy if Jerry Rice was the best receiver of all time, right?
Yes.
And Randy Moss responded with, I mean, statistically. He was like, I mean, statistically.
Oh my God.
However, if you want to talk about statistics, because he's like he's got that hick ass, West Virginia
straight
talk.
Cash, homie.
Yeah, he was like, anybody who really
always sounded like a white guy pretending to be a black guy, pretending to be a white. He sounded like a dude playing another dude disguised as another dude, man.
Randy Moss just sounds a little bit country now, but he was talking about who the best receiver is based on the impact and the game and what they did in football other than statistics. And then he said something. I was on board with him because I just want to say flat out, Randy Moss is the best receiver that's ever breathed. You've never heard anybody playing playground football, street ball, on the field, in a commentary booth go, oh, he just got riced. Never.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Somebody. Why? Because you just did him. Only who can do that? Moss. It's an action. It's a verb. It's a thing. And because he changed football, there's a couple of wild ass stories.
Here it is, right here. We're gonna pop it up.
Do we have the sound? Do we have the audio for it?
Yeah. Can you hear it?
I can't. Can they hear it? Can anybody watching hear it? I don't know why I can't hear it. Anywho,
he said talking. He said you're talking to him. He said I put myself first. Who's the best receiver in the NFL? He said you're talking to him.
You're talking to him.
You're talking to him.
That's the swag right there.
Yeah. And he said, I'll put myself first. I'll put T.O. second. I would put Jerry probably third or fourth. My favorite, the third or fourth is funny because he said probably
the third or fourth. I want to know who third was.
He was like, I might be forgetting a couple motherfuckers up in there.
Who's third? Megatron?
Yeah. I mean, that you could argue the same way. A guy who doesn't necessarily have all the statistics. And this is what I wish Randy Moss would say, though, because what he said was
what did he say? This is this is why we're talking about it.
Yes.
Because this is similar to the Jamel Hill line after the Jake Paul, Nate Robinson fight where he was knocked out and she was like, Jake, don't you think that knocking out Nate Robinson like that, a black man, is racism? And then it was like, what?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Randy Moss, even though I was on board with him, I think he's the greatest receiver of all time. I think nobody does what he does. Goes and says, well, statistics are statistics. And they didn't even give, people contracts because of the color of their skin. So you know how statistics are. And I was like...
Which, by the way, when in the history of the NFL has anybody said, like, listen, we really like this guy. He's a great football player. He's just too goddamn black. And we can't...
Never. Not ever.
I mean, it might have happened, but I don't
Now the inverse has happened.
Yes. Yes. I'm sure. They were like, listen, we like this guy. He's a good guy. He's too goddamn cracker.
But he's white.
He's just white.
What am I going to do with him?
Skill position players.
What am I going to do with him? He plays corner.
So fast. Listen,
he plays corner. I know he can play one-on-one. But listen, 16-game season. Somebody's going to abuse that guy, and I'm not going to be the DC that gets someone. Like, can you imagine? There's been one white corner in the last 30 years I can remember.
Jason Sehorn.
That's it. Name another. I can't
Yeah,
think.
you can't. You can't.
Don't worry,
name
I'll
another
wait.
one. They make them safeties now. That's why. If they're
So if
over
statistics-
215 pounds,
if-
they play linebacker, and if
so-
they're under that, they play safety.
Up to Randy, if statistics are racist and it was just a bias, there'd be a lot of white corners.
Yeah,
and you would have been mossing a lot more crackers.
Yeah, for sure.
That didn't happen. You were mossing Dre Bly and shit.
And also for you to say statistics are racist, it's like, listen, white wide receivers have had to ball the fuck out to even stay on a team. And even
let
when
alone be
they're
a household name.
Yes, and even when they're Wes Welker talented, they end up playing for 7 different teams in their NFL career. I mean, it's insane. People forget that Wes Welker wasn't it Wes Welker on a punt return kept that Dolphins team from going 0-16 that year and then went to New England and then fucking became Wes Welker?
Yeah, he also against the Dolphins ran a 99-yard screen, something for a touchdown. The season like after they traded him.
Also,
Belichick was like, "Hey, who was that guy that returned that thing?" And he was like, "That's Wes Welker." He's like, "Good, get him on the team."
But when you look at your top 15 greatest white wide receivers of all time, none of these guys are statistically anywhere near Jerry Rice's records. I can
Who
understand.
the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, the only cracker that should be up there is Biletnikoff.
Well, and Steve Largent. I mean, Steve Largent.
And Wes Welker. That's it. Everybody else, get out of here. Because there's been way better crackers since
But you want to talk about respect? You want to talk about respect? Steve Largent's numbers retired with the Seahawks, and when Jerry Rice decided to play a season there before his career was over, he gave him his retired number. I mean, it's like, that's respect. And so for you to say that Jerry Rice might be 3rd or 4th, maybe, I don't need the motherfucker might not be the top 10. Jerry Rice has all the records. He doesn't have 1 or 2 records by a hair. That motherfucker has Wayne Gretzky level statistics. Now, what I wish Randy Moss would have said is,
but it is hilarious.
It is
hilarious to note that Jerry Rice has all these records. And he wasn't acknowledging him. He was like, yeah, he's maybe like 3rd or 4th. But this is the hilarious part. Steve Largent is the like consensus number 1 overall cracker receiver.
Yes.
And he had to give up his number. That's how hard white wide receivers have to work in the NFL.
Yes.
It's just
listen,
like,
Steve
dude,
Largent, we know you're the
if Randy Moss
white
thinks
man.
you're 3rd or 4th, if Randy Moss thinks you're 3rd or 4th, and I'm like number 1 of the whites, I still have to give my jersey up.
Right. Listen,
it's like
Jerry Rice owns virtually every significant receiving mark. He has the record for receiving yards in a career. Most 1,000-yard receiving seasons, 14. Total touchdowns, 208. And combined net yards, 23,546. He also has a hold on multiple NFL playoff and Super Bowl records. The only thing that Randy Moss should have said is, if I ever got to play
14 years,
if I
would have played 14 years, I would have them records.
And if I would have played with Joe Montana, I would have made Jerry Rice look like a special teams player. That's what he should have said.
He would have been like, listen, if I would have played with Joe Montana, they would have traded Jerry Rice.
Yeah. You would have never heard of Jerry Rice if
but
I got
Teal
to play
with
Jerry
Rice. And that's why he was like just sitting there eating the popcorn, like, oh shit, he talking.
And I would argue.
And Teal was like, you know what? I was thinking it, but
yeah,
Teal was on the team, like I was thinking it, but
I'll tell you this: I would actually argue that Terrell Owens was a better game-changing wide receiver than Randy Moss in terms of dominating plays. And it's only because of the catch. It's only because of this play that I think T.O. And I remember watching this in a bar.
But that entire game, T.O. dropped 2 touchdowns before that.
I know.
That's why he cried after this one.
The greatest catch in playoff history.
No.
Steve Young running for his life. Yeah. Played like shit this whole game.
Fumbled. They missed, right? Oh no, this is the beginning of the game. What is this? The whole game?
They're giving you the story. They're giving you the lead. This is the
Oh,
highlights of
I
that
get it.
entire game, right? Here we go. This was quadruple coverage. Quadruple coverage. Look at this. The whole defense around him.
I mean, what has changed though? The Packers don't know how to cover nobody.
I mean, you know,
What's changed?
I just think, listen, you could argue if T.O. got to play with Tom Brady
pull
for
up
as many,
Randy,
if
pull up
T.O.
Randy
got to
Moss.
play, if
Pull up
T.O.
Randy
got to
Moss
play as many years
playoffs.
with Tom Brady as Randy Moss did, nobody would have known who Randy Moss was.
Randy Moss went to the Patriots the first season and broke the fucking touchdown record.
Right. With the greatest quarterback ever to play the game.
Okay. But he had an O line. He had a, you know,
Carl,
they were
you
winning.
could have broken the single season touchdown record with Tom Brady throwing you the ball on that Patriots team.
How
that
come nobody
Patriots
else
team
did
was
though?
because they had Moss. They got Moss for like a fifth.
You just said it, baby.
But they
You just
had
said it.
they-
Nobody
but
else
I-
did because they had Randy.
Right. But again, this all goes back to quarterback play. I mean, you could make the same argument if T.O. got to play with Joe Montana or Tom Brady. You might have forgot both of those motherfuckers. They're all great. And by the way,
Tom Brady in that Super Bowl is throwing to T.O. instead of Donovan McNabb throwing to T.O., they blow the Eagles out.
Of course. If T.O. was on the other side of that game,
They blow
it's
them
a
out.
totally different game. They destroy
Blow
them.
them out.
And here's the other thing. If Megatron got to play with a fucking quarterback that was half a shit in his whole career, we wouldn't be talking about any of these wide receivers.
None of them. That fool would have been the ultimate Decepticon out there.
Well, you want to talk about the most physically dominant, the most man amongst boys athlete at his position of all time? It ain't none of these. It ain't none of them. It's Megatron.
That's what I'm saying.
Without
He's
question.
third, right? When he said,
I think Megatron is the greatest wide receiver. He couldn't be covered. Calvin Johnson could not be covered. Do you remember watching him come out of college and be like, "Who gonna cover him?"
dude, I remember him.
I
remember him in the ACC championship game at Georgia Tech, and I was like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yes,
he wore like number 21 or some wild shit.
He was a defensive end that could play wide receiver.
I was like, this guy's a problem.
Yeah,
like,
and then he
that was a goddamn transformer.
And
then
listen,
he's like, no, he's the evil one.
Yes, and listen, the funny thing is, remember the GM took so much shit because Calvin Johnson was like the third receiver they took in a row in the first round of the draft, and he was like, listen, I know we already took two of them, but this motherfucker is going to be greatest of all time. So it's like,
look here, Jack. Man, you know.
I mean, and I would argue that the only franchise more capable of wasting NFL caliber legendary talent than the Philadelphia Eagles is the Detroit Lions. I mean, that is a team that has squandered the careers of Calvin Johnson and
both
Barry
retired
Sanders.
early. Both retired early.
Of course, because they played for Detroit.
You know who has been ranking in the cash and getting hurt but not retiring early, despite his body's wishes, is Matthew Stafford.
It's insane, man. And Stafford's another guy that I think should be like, I'm done. I am done. Why do I want to keep playing football? Why would you want to keep playing football?
Phil Rivers is just paying for the 8th kid, and that's it.
Yeah, Philip Rivers knows that he has all those mouths to feed, and he's like, every million counts.
So, well, the reason
Philip Rivers is the only guy who's going to spend all of his money in his lifetime because he's not going to have a choice.
The reason I was so high on Randy Moss is because of the stories that Dante Culpepper told me about Randy Moss.
Oh, I believe
Dante was my quarterback when I was in the UFL league, which obviously has been since folded because you'd have no idea what it is. My coach was Denny Green.
UFL league.
They are who they are who we thought they are. They are who we thought they were.
And we let him off the hook.
So we have Dante as quarterback. So I'm getting to know him and shit. Actually, shout out my buddy Josh, who was in this chat earlier. He showed up at my house. We went to Josh's house in my hometown and shit. He picked me up in a Bentley and we just like smoked out in this like dad's crib. Fucking awesome. But Dante was telling me Randy Moss stories. And he was like, bro, I'm telling you. I was like, what was it like? I would just ask him questions that you would like, obvious ones. That was just like, seriously, what was it like to throw the ball to Randy Moss? Not like, hey, what's it like to play with Randy? Like, yo, what's it like throwing the ball to Randy Moss? And he was like, I could throw that bitch up and I just knew he was going to get it. No matter what, it was like some shit was going down. Oh, I know I'll just launch it if I know Randy's out there.
It's
And
interesting
I was
that
like,
was your first question, because my first question would have been, what happened on the boat? Tell me all about the boat. Tell me about the boat. Tell me about the boat
you want to
party
know
that
about the
cost
boat?
Mike Tyson. I want to know
You
all
want to
about
know
the
about the
boat.
boat? They
I
had
know.
2
Listen,
boats.
I
They
talked to
had 2
Mike.
boats.
I
Do you
talked
know
to
that they
Mike
had 2
Tyson.
boats?
I talked to
I
Mike
didn't know
Tice
there
when
was
he
2
got.
boats.
Oh yeah, there was 2 boats. I talked to Mike Tice when he got relegated to being a coordinator for the Jaguars after he got fired from that Vikings job. And I literally walked up to him in a Maggiano's in Edina, Minnesota, and I was like, "Let's talk football." Also, what happened on the boat, man? Tell me about the boat. And he was like, "I can't talk about that, but I
All
can tell
right,
you about Maurice Jones-Drew."
the boat. Um, you know the riverboat, like gambling, like old to riverboat casino type shit that's happening.
Yeah, yeah,
They were doing
yeah.
that anyways, playing with big cash. But then they were like, "Hey, let's just." So they would do this. They would just do this. Pep told me they would
And,
just do
and
this shit.
and by the way,
And
anyone
so
who's been in Minnesota knows that these boats are on the lakes in Minnesota all the time.
all the time they're just
Anybody,
there.
if you've
So
never
they'll
been on
rent
one of
them
these
out.
boat parties, yeah, I've been on these boat parties a lot. I used to get hired to do comedy on them.
Yo, so when I say they, I don't mean the entire Minnesota Vikings team at first. I specifically mean Mount McKinney.
Yes.
And Brian McKinney, for those that don't know, is quite the personality. Is a giant mountain of a man at offensive tackle. And he went to the University of Miami. And he's the type of guy that it's the type of guy that when you say they tell you not to do certain things at your rookie symposium, they tell you don't invest in your friends' companies and shit like that. Like, don't.
In case anybody doesn't know how big this motherfucker is, this is who we're talking about right here.
The
Brian
Mount.
McKinney. This is
Mount McKinney.
This is the best picture of him ever. This one right here, which for some reason, it's not letting me click. Look at this picture. Look at that.
That's him, bro.
In
With
case
the straight,
the
straight
longest,
Miami with
the
the straight
longest
Miami braids.
rows of corn on the history of black men's heads.
Man, so Mount would get every.
Look at him in the Ravens. Look at him in his end of his career at the Ravens. Just like, man, I'm tired of this shit.
So Mount was getting these boats and stuff, and like he was the one that would like really like rent them out, and all the players they would gamble on them. They had girls on them, and I want to be like it was some hater shit that they were like somebody snitched to be like this is what's happening on these boats, sort of thing. But I gotta tell you, that shit is incredible to know. Some fun facts about Hall of Fame players and shit like that. Like I'd be like, who has the best hands? And so he was like, Chris Carter, hands down. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, tell me something about Randy that like we wouldn't know, like about his like when he stepped on the field, like what's his thing? I said, he was like, I tell you this, Randy Moss never stepped on. This is Pep told me this. Randy Moss never stepped on the field without being stoned, which makes him the number 1 receiver.
Okay.
Of all time.
All right, I got it. I'm with it. I'm with it.
That means anytime he laced up his cleats, he'd be blunted.
Yeah, let's see. According to this was October 6th.
He told a story, and then he told a story about he went back to his house.
Did we lose you?
Wait, you reading a story?
There we go. No, I'm not reading your story.
No, I was saying. I was saying that. Damn, what the fuck was I talking about? Oh, when Randy went back, there was like these kids at the park and shit. Randy was there, and they were like throwing the shit, so throwing the ball. And like, he was like, "Hey, can I, join?" type shit. And basically like you kid was talking shit. Like, oh, you probably still ain't even got it. He's like, all right, tell you what, though, man. He didn't have his cleats on. She's like, I'll be right back. Went to the car, in the trunk, got his cleats, put them on. Told the kid that was playing quarterback. He said, throw the ball over that fence. He's like, just aim to that fence and throw it. He's like, you sure? He's like, look, bro, just throw that. Like, all right. Randy took off, obviously. He threw that fucking thing. He caught it over the fucking fence like that. And brought it back in and then took his shoes off, put it in the trunk. And he said, don't ever say Randy ain't got it. And then just like drove off. I'm like, random kids at the park. He's like got like Prince stories, but of athleticism, you know? Like random. He's got like Bill Murray stories.
It's funny though. I don't think he was at the boat party in 2005, and I think he had already gone on to Oakland at that time. But that the boat party. Well, listen, this was the scandal. This is the one they got caught at. So he was probably at the ones before that. But it was Dante Culpepper, Fred Smoot, Meweldy Moore, Big Pat Williams, Bryant McKinney, Nate Burleson, Ralph Brown, Jermaine Wiggins, Troy Williamson, Travis Taylor, Kevin Williams, Lance Johnstone, Mo Williams, and Willie Offord. My money is on the whitest one of them boys being a snitch. And could
Mount
you imagine?
McKinney, they said Mount would be on the railing of the boat eating bitches' pussies, like upside down, like, while motherfuckers are driving by and shit. That's what I mean about snitching, because somebody would have to be like, there go the Vikes. You know what I mean? And just let it roll.
Also,
and
your team is the Vikings, and you're at sea raping and pillaging. That is perfection.
I'm talking bitches' legs like this out, and Mount's just got a bitch upside down, like, eating pussy while the crowd is like there's people outside.
Yes. Well, Lake
they didn't
Minnetonka
give
is not a
fuck.
Yeah.
They didn't give a fuck.
Lake Minnetonka is not like a private lake. There's a lot of rich people live on that lake, and a lot of people are out on that lake all the time.
Right. So you know who I got for the best receiver of all time, and I say that because I know that, you know, he got stoned before he stepped on the field, which means he was high, and you can't stop that motherfucker because he's high and you not. You're trash. He's the best.
There's actually a lot of studies coming.
But that's why I feel Lamar Odom, I think, is a first ballot Hall of Famer simply for winning 2 championships on crack. Those are just that's the cards.
But while being married to a Kardashian. I mean,
and if you tell me that, I think that came later, but if you tell me that Ricky Williams shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, I'd be like, you're crazy, dude.
Yeah.
He walked away from football because they kept trying to test him, but he was like, I'm finna smoke this dank and run for 1,000. Yeah. Like, he was like, you don't give a fuck.
And you know what's really interesting is that Ricky Williams never stopped smoking weed, and that dude was a power runner between the tackles, and he was never really hurt.
That's what's helped him.
He played through a lot of his career.
Knock on wood, I never had any major injury aside from the thing I had in my neck. And basically, I just had some practice off and a neck brace they put on my fucking shoulder pad, and that was it. I played with it. But I never had a surgery or any of that type of shit my entire playing career, and I smoked my entire career.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, my roommates in college and some other teammates I had, they'd like to drink more than smoke, and they took pain pills and shit for that. All of them tore their ligaments.
Listen,
all of them had torn ACLs. All of them had it. And I'm just like, dude, that shit, those pills, that shit is like eating away muscles and stuff.
You don't think for a second that microdosed mushrooms or legalized pot in the NFL would have saved so many quarterbacks who were busts? I mean, it
would have saved them, and that's the thing.
Yes,
they know
the ability to slow the game down, to help them process mentally.
They don't want longevity for guys who are linemen and stuff like that. They were like, every 4 years we'll just get more guys. We'll treat it like they treat it like a college system. 3.3 years. We'll decide if they got to pay you. We'll get them on rookie contracts and then bust them out. Like, so I say that about these guys and their talent level being able to smoke and do that. Like I said, the NBA is not testing anymore. I think the NFL shouldn't. But who do you are you one that thinks like you should allow steroids?
No.
In sport?
No, I do think there should.
I think it depends on the sport.
I think
because everybody I know that I played with that did steroids, they tore their LCL or the MCL or some shit. So I'd be like, dude, you're taking a risk with your body. So like,
yeah,
and most of them took it for recovery, not to be like, oh, now he can beat me because he's on steroids. I'll still pancake you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, so I think with games that require a lot of skill and focus, like football, I don't necessarily have a big problem with it. I think in baseball, I don't give a shit about that. It's a
hit it 500 feet.
I don't give a fuck how many like a home run derby. I'd be fine with. Listen, I religiously watched baseball.
I guess steroids don't make you hit a fastball. By the way,
I religiously watched baseball for one season in my entire life, and that was the season that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. That's when they competing in the home run baseball. And those guys were juiced to the gills. And that was the only time in my entire life I ever gave a fuck about baseball. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning every day to watch Sports Center before high school to see who hit home runs the day before. And the answer was all of them. They all hit home runs. It was quite, McGwire got 3, Sosa got 6. Fuck,
that whole year was crazy. They were just
that was the only time baseball was entertaining in the last 30 fucking years.
These dudes hit so many home runs. HBO did a movie about the first guys that hit that many home runs.
Yes.
61. You remember that shit?
Yes, exactly.
They came out. They're like, we got to make this movie and have it come out before these cocksuckers break the record.
And so
we need to know what record they're breaking.
One of the things we were talking about was the greatest wide receivers of all time. And we toyed around with having a list of, since statistics are racist, who are the greatest white wide receivers of all time. But I think you and I both agree that there's only one white wide receiver that really needs to be celebrated. And no picture sums up his NFL career better than this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Wayne Chrebet.
Oh, you see him? You see him.
Wayne Chrebet, listen.
No gloves.
Played for the Jets, went to Hofstra, and this is the face of your amazing talent when you play for the Jets.
That's our franchise.
He literally looks like he's saying,
he looks like he was in West Side Story. Like he was
Jets, Jets.
I guess I'm on the Jets. This is I guess I'm on the Jets.
Wayne Chrebet looks like he's watching the Jets play throughout the rest of his entire life.
That's what that picture is from. That picture is from him having to watch the Jets play.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
how am I on this team?
That was a badass wide receiver core, though. We had Lavernius Coles.
I mean,
come on.
But this is
you were a Jet fan at the time, dude. There's no way. Herm Edwards.
Herm Edwards was my favorite. Herm Edwards Jets was my favorite Jets team. I like the Parcells Jets. I like the Herm Edwards Jets more.
What? You play to win the game.
You play to win the game. You draft these guys to play football. Okay? I don't care about their test scores. I don't care about how well they look in a suit. They coming to play football.
Why do we play the game? To win. That's it.
Wayne Chrebet literally looks like he was watching the Jets fail to get Trevor Lawrence this weekend.
Jesus,
there's so many.
I've never been so disappointed and happy at the same time.
And I'll tell you what, this Wayne Chrebet.
All we had to do was beat the Raiders, and we would still be in it.
This is Wayne Chrebet responding to Randy Moss saying that statistics are racist. He's just going statistics and championships. He also said that somehow I don't really count statistics and championships, any of the metrics by which the game is judged. What I really like to look at is how motherfucker ball out on television.
Any of the
I wish Randy
criteria
Moss,
that we judge greatness by.
yeah, I wish Randy
I
Moss would
don't
just say,
know.
"Listen, I make this shit look good." That would have been fine. That would have been fine.
I hate your generic Chris Rocky black guy impression, by the way.
Oh, that's not. I have others. Do you want to hear other? They get worse. They get much more inappropriate.
It's just like
You don't want to hear my SEC black guy voice. That'll get us kicked off of YouTube. They'll be like, "This. I don't know what this is, but this is definitely hate speech. This has got to be hate speech."
no DDB. What I'm talking about? Yeah, easy if I did. Shit.
That's actually, for those of you who are watching at home and aren't familiar with, you don't speak SEC. Carl actually just called a play. Trips right, split motion.
I know what I'm saying. I fuck what they talking about on 3.
All right, well, we've got to end talking about this fucking guy. If we're talking about black accents ruining football, I think the entire NFL community was set ablaze by my man,
Aquib Talib,
who, by the way, and I can't say this, there was a tweet that summed it up perfectly, but I cause waves when I say the N-word, but there was, for some reason, people don't like it when I say it. I don't understand why. I'm not calling anyone that. I'm just regurgitating. But
it's a black thing you wouldn't understand.
But one of the users on Black Twitter this weekend said Aquib Talib brought way too much N-word to the booth and America can't handle it. And I thought there was no better synopsis of what Aquib Talib was doing in the booth doing commentary this weekend.
I just know that this is pretty much a third word in the sentence. Man, so what they doing with Kyler Murray, man, it's great, and that's going to be a struggle, uphill battle, man, for him. And man, the Arizona really, man, the way the Eagles are playing, man, Kyler Murray really in for it.
It was literally like, can I take a pass? He was. I said this. I texted you this while we were watching the game. I said, Aquib is the guy on the sideline that doesn't shut up for the whole fucking game, and he's literally just doing play-by-play.
Man, why did do the ball like that, man? I wouldn't have done it like that. Man, did they get that ball to me? Man, shit.
It's just the whole game is just the dude on your bench. And I didn't play a lot of organized football, but I did play a lot of organized hockey. And we did have a black kid, and this was him on the bench the whole time. He would literally be like, "Oh, there they go right there. They're gonna pass it. Oh, he just passed it to Jeffrey. Oh, now Jeffrey passed it over to him." I was like, "Are you calling the game right now? What's happening?" And literally, that was the key to leave. He like, "Oh, they're gonna hand it off right here. Look at there he go. There he go. He run. Oh shit, he ran. Oh, he got tackled. That's what happened. That's what happened when you run the ball up the middle like that. They go get you, man."
Now, how you're saying it sounds very racist in my head.
I think I'm nailing Aquib Talib. I think I'm doing it perfectly. I think I listened to the whole game.
That's a tackle, man. Man, what a tackle. This
right here. This man coverage right here. What you need to do is you need to throw crossing routes right there. That get that man covered right here, man. Come on, man. That was literally the whole game.
That was a little boomhousery.
Guy's suit looked like a couch. He came dressed, and the thing I loved more than Aquib Talib's commentary was how Pat Summerall Whitebread Brandon Gowden became.
That's right, Aquib.
I'm telling you right now. I love
how in the middle of it.
Aquib Talib isn't
for
the
those
commentator.
of us just joining, for those of you just joining us, that is Aquib Talib talking.
Attempting to. This is Aquib Talib attempting to speak.
This is just so you know, we're here with former NFL player, bona fide player. How you doing, Aquib? Aquib's here. He's like, man, it's great to be here, man. Also, we're talking about Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz, man. Jalen Hurts on the field and Carson Wentz is not, man. And that's just what we got to do and realize that that's not happening at the time. So Jalen Hurts can only play because how can you have two quarterbacks at once? You can't. You can't, man.
He's literally like, And my favorite part was that every time there was a flag on the play, like Brandon would be like, "You're familiar with those, right, Aquib?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. You know they threw them as shits at every single one of my plays."
Shit, every time. You know what? Pick that flag up. Don't nobody need that flag.
You were waiting for Aquib to be like, "There go the flag. They're getting Patrick Peterson again. These motherfuckers." You were waiting for him to be like, "These motherfucking zebra ass motherfuckers."
Yeah.
Never
I felt like he
quit
was
that
playing.
shit.
He was like playing one time. That's what it sounded like. He was still on the field.
He was
just
they
like-
kept throwing these pass interference, and he goes, "Listen, you know, I've been there several times, and you
Listen,
know
that ain't PI.
Yeah.
Man.
He said, they throw the
Come on,
interference. He said they throw the interference at me every play. And, you know, sometime it was legit because I fucked the motherfucker up. And then other times they completely had their head in their ass.
Well, sometimes you were giving a little PI, weren't you, Keem? I said I wasn't. I said
they called it a liar. Summerall. I would have laughed if he just started calling Brandon Gouton Summerall. Why don't black commentators just call the white guy Summerall in every booth?
Because that would be
hilarious.
To get an inside jokey and be like, "This is racist." Like they would be like, "They're calling me Karen. I don't like it. It's like the N word, and I won't stand for it at all."
Summerall is the white guy commentator N word.
That's my Rush. That's my Rush Limbaugh.
I would think it would be.
This.
I think Madden would be the white guy commentator.
If you say the N word, then somebody hears you, or when they say it, and then boom, and it's on the internet.
Yeah. I feel like that was John Madden calling my career. But I'm just saying, I thought Aquib was great because he made the game more fun to watch because it was such a departure from
I just imagine so many people watching the game like, who is talking?
Yeah, people who think Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are the pinnacle of sports commentary. I wanted to get worse. I wanted to get even more crunk. I wanted to get even blacker and even more ridiculous. I want guys sipping cognac on the sideline.
What the fuck is this?
Is that your racist old white guy face? How long is this bit gonna go on?
I don't know. You gotta commit sometimes.
I see that. Tune in next week where I wear full Aquib Talib blackface. By the way, when you try to find Aquib Talib commentary, the first video that pops up, video shows Aquib Talib on the night he shot himself, which, believe it or not, wasn't after Sunday's game.
Did he? Wait, he did a.
He pulled a Plaxico Burress, I guess.
Plaxico. Wow.
Yeah, Aquib actually did his first performance back in November. That was his Fox debut, and you know, it's funny. I think they must have thought they were getting one of the.
Bro, they thought nobody's gonna watch the fucking Eagles game. That's what it was.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, somebody tweeted that. They go, "Listen, when your team is battling for the division at 4-8-1, you don't get the A team of announcers."
Well, yeah, he got to practice on somebody. So on some teams, so he's like, "This is perfect." He knows it. They're black quarterbacks. We can just put them on that show. You know, that's a network is all white. You know, fucking stiff.
That's a total network decision.
So they're just like, he could be relatable.
They're literally like,
and then he's just going, "Now listen, I play DB, and they doing some fuck shit right now." Sorry. Excuse me. Oh, we live.
Like,
this is
listen.
Ain't no tape delay.
Yeah,
this not a game.
Let's just have Aquib call the Hershey's Bowl down there in Atlanta this week, and then we'll go from there.
It's live as fuck at Magic City.
That's what I can't wait for, is the profanity-laced commentary. I mean, dude, the guy who does the Buffalo Wild Wing commercials, I can't remember that guy's name, but he made a whole career out of doing NFL commentary cursing. Bob, what's his name? Bob Menery? Yeah, Bob Menery. Yeah. Bob Menery did his whole career, or built a whole career, and is now like the voice of Buffalo Wild Wings because he just literally did.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Let's find this here. I'll pull this clip up.
All right. Hilarious. Yeah, he was always doing the voiceover shit.
Oh, it's just, who would have thought that just doing
They should just
silly
let it
fucked up
go on
voiceover.
but that should be our regular commentary. It should be how regular people talk. What's the
It
point of
should be.
saying color commentary if there's going to be the only color that's going to be on there is green?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. As we've said many
The
times,
color
on
commentary in commentary should be blue.
Agreed.
God damn, did you see him smash his fucking face? That was ridiculous. Anyways, the first and 10.
We need colored commentary in the NFL. Hashtag, please get it trending. Hashtag colored commentary. Aquib, you are officially endorsed as our #1 ambassador of colored commentary.
First of all, did anybody watch the Eagles game this past weekend? Because I saw this and it was very nice to see. I love the progress. They had the colored commentary, and it was very nice. He was dressed as a lovely couch. It was such a great help because I didn't know what was going on in the game. And then this fella was saying things like, they're not rushing the passer, man. They're not. That's not a penalty, man. So I really like this guy, whoever he is. So you should keep him. Thank you, NFL fan, sincerely. And can I remain anonymous? I want to remain anonymous.
Sure thing, Mr. President. You can absolutely remain anonymous.
No, that's not it. That's not my name. My name is
Ronald Grump.
My name is Aquib Talib. I saw that name. I don't know where I saw it.
That was one of my favorite moments as a young guy growing up playing Madden, is when my white friends wouldn't know how to say the black guys' names in the game. That was one of my favorite moments. Just growing up is just like playing Madden with people who clearly don't actually watch a lot of football, and they would give up. Yeah,
trying to guess their names or something. She'd be like, dude, that's D. Jones. So what are you talking about, dude?
Right, exactly. It's Chad Ocho.
Yeah, and what are
you talking about?
And what is D's first name? What is D. Jones? What does the D stand for?
Yeah.
I mean, it's D.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the ones that they couldn't say, but one of my favorite, Marquise Tuiasosopo. That was one that nobody could say when we were growing up. TJ, this was the one.
TJ, who's your mama?
Yeah, TJ Hushmanzada.
TJ, who's your mama?
Yeah. And they even did a commercial where the guy was like, TJ Hansa Manouche, championship.
So
many good commercials. Well, that's it. It was a kind of a softball episode this week. We didn't have any hard hitting stuff, but just blacks are fun at commentary. I think we said it. If you want to clip that, send that to all the major media outlets. Black colored commentary is more fun.
I think us two crackers have been advocating for more black progress than I think a lot of people do.
You think
would ever give us credit for?
I watched the game to see white people try to be athletic? Ugh.
We don't want to see that.
No.
We want to see black coaches, black owners. We want to see black guys in the booth. We're not hating on a game to leave. I want them to say man way less times. That's it.
I want what happened on the boat to happen on the field. That's what I'm rooting for. I want the game to get way blacker.
Thank you.
I
And that's
want to
not
see.
blacker.
I
That's just
wanted.
more swag.
I
If the
just
white
want.
guys like Baker Mayfield want to join in with their swag levels and they can
That's
match it,
fine.
they're welcome to join.
Tell me you wouldn't love to see a guy score a touchdown and then pick a cheerleader up and pretend like he was eating her pussy upside down in the end zone. You
They'd
would.
be like, just kidding. But the boat later.
Yeah. We can't do it for real, but you get it. Like that, you would fucking lose.
You get it.
You get
What's
what
up?
it is.
What's up, people at home? You get it.
Yeah. You know what it is. And the cheerleader just be like, oh my God, he picked me. It would be, there would be nothing finer. There would be nothing finer. You and I could hit record NFL ratings immediately. I'd be like, first of all, every kicker is black. Get rid of these white kickers. They're boring.
First of all, is it because there's not enough glory in being a kicker? That's why the black guys don't do it. There's not enough glory in it.
No girl was like, can I suck that kicker's dick? They don't even have a porno for that. And if they do, he's probably paid by a little person. You know what I mean? Like they probably put a little midget guy in shoulder pads and he comes in and he's like,
some like humiliation porn where it's like, buddy's the kicker. Get in here, you cuck.
Yeah. And he's just like, I don't get to play. I just hold.
So
I hold while the long snapper.
We're going to change the name because we're going to be more progressive than the Oscars. So we're going to change the name of kicker to cucker. If you're white, if you're black, you could be a kicker, but on the team, if you're white, you're a cucker. Okay. And then everyone else will have to meet the racial quota that we set, in which that is 80% of your bloodline be black, or at least show some similar swag characteristics. So like, for example, if you don't run a 4.4 in the 40, but you know how to throw an out route better than someone, like it's very like the white quarterbacks will still kind of be there because they can, do stuff. But little by little, with Josh and I running the NFL, we will weed out the whites unless they're Wayne Corbett level ballers. You got to be Jordy Nelson, though. Jordy Nelson returned kicks at Kansas State. You're not a regular cracker out here, okay? That's what we're getting across.
And I don't know how
our superpowers start on time.
Speaking of which, it's December 21st. Today is the day that, if you listen to Twitter, that is supposed to be. We can't not talk about the fact that there's a large portion of the internet that believes today is the day that black people get super. We haven't even talked about how that's going to affect the game.
Dude, all I'm saying is if they draft these kids after they get superpowers, I just want to say that earlier in 2020, before COVID, if you asked the woke culture what the number one problem in America was, it was white supremacy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
That's what they would have said.
And then December 21st, the same black people in America believe that they're going to get superpowers, which means they would be far superior than regular humans, while still believing the number one threat is whites thinking they're superior to others.
It's so funny. I so badly in all those threads wanted to jump in.
That's the best irony ever.
I wanted to jump in and be like, I thought you guys already had superpowers. Explain it to me. I don't
get the NFL then if you guys don't have superpowers. What is that? We don't tiptoe like that. I don't have the same fast twitch. Here we go.
Yes. Yeah. That dude thought Howard Cosell thought you guys had superpowers and they took everything from him. And now you're saying that you have them?
Well, they have faster muscles. And you're like, oh, here we go.
Oh my God.
I'm convinced black people already had superpowers. What is this day now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
is this like the Mayans and they got the day wrong?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it activate the 21st, but they really don't start till the 25th because they gotta like catch up?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you know Jesus and the three wise men were black.
I wish I could just make, as I put it back up, I wish I could just make this the thumbnail for the episode. The part where you put your headset down and walk away. Yeah, and anyone who's ever watched Lexington Steelwork knows that some of y'all already have superpowers. And some of y'all are using them for evil.
Okay. Like drilling white bitches in their ear holes.
I mean, I don't know what's equal about that, but that looks like a for sure hate crime.
I can't believe that shit. But that is the Big Uglies. It was a bit of a softball, except for how we closed it, which I was proud of that. I totally forgot about it. I thought it was fantastic. It made me take the headset off, so that's how I know it was hella funny. I'm probably gonna eat some food.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some Wendy's. I think I'm gonna go get Wendy's. This episode brought to you by Wendy's about to be eaten.
I'm gonna eat some salad,
and I'll hold it upside down and eat it before I spike the ball, just to honor our. That's how I'm eating my burgers from now.
Both forearms and
That's commitment, by the way. You might get some asshole doing it like that and get it up. He's just like, I'm gonna eat everything.
You gotta like hug yourself with them bitches.
You know, at some point in his life, somebody was like, Bryant, you gotta eat only certain parts of the hog because some of them parts will poison you. He said, fuck y'all.
Poison pots.
Yeah.
All right, you hoes. I've been contemplating eating anyway for the last like 30 minutes.
All right. Thanks for joining, everybody, and tune in as we continue to build the podcast. We're now everywhere you can play podcasts, even in the places where nobody actually listens to podcasts. We're there. So if you want the video versions, you could go to Facebook, you go to YouTube when we broadcast on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, give or take a day or a time. And then the new episodes will be out every week, everywhere podcasts are played. And by the way, next week we'll talk about the other Big Uglies podcast, which is pretty gay.
All right, y'all.